I grew up scared all the time in survival. Like I'd never had a safe place. I was constantly abused physically, sexually by my own family. You know, I dealt with being molested as a child by my own family. My father beat me. My father died of drugs. You know, growing up, I just didn't know who I was. I was tired of feeling like I didn't have a place of safety. I just felt like somebody that just wanted all this attention, and the only way to get attention was to act out. And everything that I do has a purpose. That's been my whole life. So I don't fight because, you know, I want to show you how big my dick is or I can beat you up. Or it's like, no, my life was a fight. And because I overcame all my hardships and I was able to break the generational cycles and curses in my family, I just feel very proud of myself. And, you know, I'm doing anything that I desire. If I want to learn Spanish tomorrow, I'm going to learn Spanish. If I want to biohack my brain, I'm going to biohack my brain and be over at Project Wellbeing, because that's a superhuman center that I know I can become the best version of myself because they have all the tools. You know, I don't want to put myself in a box because I was born in a box.
All right, we got another episode of the 1% podcast. Today I've got Thane. Thane, I look up to you so much for your self-development and self-mastery, and I can't wait for us to dive into life, wellness, health, personal development, and definitely mental and spiritual awareness.
Man, thank you so much, Sean, for having me. What a great introduction. And wow, yes, I'm such a big advocate for personal development, self-growth, and everything that you actually embody and have brought to this community with Project Wellbeing, the 1% Club. And it feels amazing to be a part of that 1% Club. And, you know, being here today on this podcast, I just want to help other people get to that 1% as well. And man, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about like your background?
Well, first I'll start with my name. For everybody that doesn't know me, my name's Thane Wadams. I'm new to Vegas. I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm 27 years old. I'm a father first and foremost, and I'm a student of life. I love living. I love learning. I love just being a student to what I don't know, you know, becoming the best version of myself. Everything that I do has a purpose. I grew up real rough. I didn't have the normal childhood like everybody else did. And it really allowed me to figure out who I am now today. And because I am in this vibration of peace, of clarity, it's like the ultimate feeling of love and gratitude. And I'm in such a great state of mind that I want to share this with everybody. I want to share this new way of living because I grew up not knowing who I was. It literally gives me goosebumps like talking about it. And I know a lot of people can relate, and I know that you're a big advocate for mind, body, and spirit, and just literally being aligned with your truest self. And before we even got on the podcast, you had said something that stuck out to me, and it was just, I don't care anymore. I don't care what people think. I want to live my truth, and that's what I'm here for. And, you know, part of my mission, you know, I'm a professional athlete. I box, currently 6-0 as a professional boxer, 1-0 in MMA professionally. And, you know, it's not even about being undefeated. It's just about being the best version of myself. And everything that I do is so that I can alchemize the situation and learn how to grow in this uncomfortable environment. And that's been my whole life. So I don't fight because, you know, I want to show you how big my dick is or I can beat you up. Or it's like, no, my life was a fight. And because I overcame all my hardships and I was able to break the generational cycles and curses in my family, I just feel very proud of myself. And, you know, part of me being here today is, you know, I know we're going to dive a little more deep into that, but I just want to, you know, start off with, I'm a big advocate for personal development. You know, there's a lot that I do. So when somebody asks me, Thane, what is it that you do? It's like, well, I do everything, you know, I'm living. I'm doing anything that I desire. If I want to learn Spanish tomorrow, I'm going to learn Spanish. If I want to biohack my brain, I'm going to biohack my brain and be over at Project Wellbeing, because that's a superhuman center that I know I can become the best version of myself because they have all the tools, you know? Yeah. So there's no limits, you know, like I'm learning how to DJ right now. I balance a life of being a father, of being a male entertainer. I dance for women. I also have a big YouTube channel where I go viral and I have millions and on almost 1 billion views. You know what I mean? So it's like there's no limits to what we can do. I don't want to put myself in a box because I was born in a box.
Yeah, it's not, so I want to go back and touch on something you said you had a really rough, you know, childhood, and I did too. Did that make you callous in the way that you lived. And I know you said now you know exactly who you are, but as that rough upbringing, sometimes it makes us be tough, sheltered, and calloused. Did that happen to you?
I grew up scared all the time in survival. Like I'd never had a safe place, because I was constantly abused, physically, sexually by my own family. I dealt with being molested as a child by my own family. My father beat me. My father, died of drugs. And, growing up, I just didn't know who I was. I was tired of feeling like I didn't have a place of safety. I just felt like somebody that just wanted all this attention, and the only way to get attention was to act out. And, to answer your question, yeah, I did have to callous myself. I had to put up walls and barriers and protect myself. And, I think when I was doing that, it didn't allow me to, move forward, because I was pushing everything under the rug. And I think that's what we do sometimes is, it's like, I give this analogy, right? It's like we have the goggles on of life, right? And when you decide to take those goggles off in life and step outside of the matrix, aka any of the problems that you're dealing with, whether it's your family, whether it's your wife, whether it's your husband, whether it's school, work, whatever it is that you're encountering that doesn't service you or doesn't align with you, a lot of times instead of standing up for yourself, you're just like, like this is what it is. And because society teaches us that.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know any better. I wasn't enlightened. I always knew I was different, Sean. And I always knew that I had this star power, and I knew I was somebody even when I was in the group home. I would tell them, be all over billboards and this and that, and it all happened. But I had to, I sheltered myself. I had to protect myself so I would act out.
I think something that I learned because I blame my mom for a lot of things that happened in my life. I grew up without a father. It dawned on me one day that my mom doesn't have the resources that I do in my life today. She doesn't have the mental performance resources or the people that she could go and talk to.
Yes.
And it helped explain maybe the decisions that were made, back when I was younger. I think there's always a reason why that someone does something. When they don't have a roadmap to follow, they make the wrong choices. And it took me quite some time to understand that, so I wouldn't keep being so angry of how my life was, and I could be appreciative of what it was going to be. Because I think as I lived a callous life myself, and then I lived a fear-based life, it robbed me of all freedom. So even though you would achieve something, I would just be fearful, I'm not going to get it back again, or I can't relax, I can't take a day off. And it actually would rob you of pretty much anything, any achievement that you could do. All your mind was looking for was what would come next. Right. And what comes next is you dying at some point and not realizing anything that you have done. And I think that what comes to that is I'm sure that because of what happened to you in your childhood, there was no belief in trust, and probably definitely not from any trust around you. And then I think what that ultimately does is make you not trust and believe in yourself. So I know that you had a turning point to where you kind of broke free of what I call the chains. Was there a specific event in your life that allowed you to make that mind shift change?
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's very powerful. And, I can relate in so many ways. And it's, I had to let go and let God, I feel like we all have faith. I mean, anybody that tells me they don't have faith, when you're driving on the highway and you're staying in those lines, you're trusting that the cars next to you are also staying in those lines. So we all have faith. But it's just learning how to tap into that higher self, that higher frequency, that higher vibration. And ultimately, I was just tired of being lost. I was tired of not living my truth. I was tired of feeling like a caged animal. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And I just got away from nature. I got away from my senses. Something that really just had a profound impact on me was when I went to the group home. I was like, I'm not this. I'm only here. And I had to stop blaming, because every time we point one finger, there's three pointing back at us. So ultimately, I just took accountability, and I said, you know what? I got to accept the things I cannot change and have the courage to change the things I can. I just made a decision, a conscious decision, that I want better for myself. I may not know who I am now, but eventually I'm going to enlighten myself, and through this journey and trusting the process and having faith, I'm going to stay in this divine energy and stay connected to source. And whatever source looks like to you, Sean, may be the same that I look at it as, but everybody has a different outlook on that, so whether you call it God, Allah, spirit, universe, whatever it is, I just had faith, and I had to start trusting myself. And instead of listening to all these other mentors and therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists, I said, you know what, I don't need this medication because I'm acting out. You guys just didn't dig deeper and try to actually figure out what childhood traumas that I was dealing with. And all of the things that we're experiencing in our adulthood really comes down to childhood trauma. So I just, honestly, I had a spiritual awakening. I started doing this tapping therapy called EFT. And I would tap, throughout the chakras through my body. And I would say a guided affirmation meditation with a shaman and somebody that would guide me through this. And I just said, wow, there has to be more to life than survival, than fighting, than trying to figure it out all the time.
Yes.
So I just started trusting myself. I started journaling, and I want to teach people this, right? I think if you guys practice the 3 senses, right? Sight, smell, and sound. That's something that has really given me my highest dharma, has set me in my highest dharma, and allowed me to operate as the best version of myself. Because when you go to my house, you're going to hear meditation. You're going to hear some type of empowering frequency, hurt sound, because I'm setting my intention. When I walk into my house, I want to feel good. Yes. So sound is very important. I mean, you guys have the vibrating acoustic tables that play frequencies. I'm a big advocate for that because it's allowing me to be in my highest dharma. It's raising my vibration. And that's why they say when it rains, it pours, is because you're just stuck in a low vibration.
No, 100%.
Emotions only last 2 minutes. So anything after that, you're just addicted to feeling bad for yourself.
Yeah.
So I stopped feeling bad for myself. Then the sound aspect of it, right? There's that. The sight aspect, right? What's the first thing that most people do when they wake up? They look at their phone. What's the thing that they do when they go to bed? They look at their phone. So you're already programming yourself to see negativity. I mean, social media, they construct this so that you are in a low vibration, so that you're like, oh wow, her body's better than mine. Wow, that guy has more tattoos and he's doing X, Y, and Z.
I'm like the most competitive person that you'll ever meet. And I was competing with everyone on social media. It first became people, and then I had the facility, then it became competing with facilities. But ultimately it was competing with myself. And what I recently found out, maybe just a month ago, is how horribly I actually speak about myself. So all day, everyone says all these wonderful things about how I help them. And it's almost like I chose to throw them away. And I would talk to myself so bad, like seriously, like so bad. And I realized that's a sickness. It's creating what I, envisioned in my childhood trauma, and just continue to just speak all these bad things about me. I didn't know that I was doing this 25 plus years after that. That really is a crazy thing to think about. And I don't think that that's ever going to leave, but it just needs to be acknowledged. And it's the people that look like they're all the way put together. Sometimes they suffer the most in silence.
Well, first of all, just you being vulnerable about that's huge. It's hard for a lot of men look the way that we look, and have the things that we have, to be vulnerable, and that's huge. And you had said something like it will probably never go away. No, we're just breaking and shifting our old paradigms and retraining our subconscious mind. So it goes back to the sight now, right? So before I go to bed, instead of looking at my phone, and when I wake up, instead of looking at my phone, I put a powerful affirmation, or maybe it's my dream house, or it's something that I am manifesting, and I want that to be the first thing I look at and the last thing I look at, because you're so powerful. And I think people, this is why I encourage people to start going on their miles of meditation, doing their walks in nature, touching trees, staying grounded, putting your bare feet on the grass, and connecting to the universe, because there is power in being able to do that, right? And so now we talked about the sound. Now we talk about sight, and the last thing is smell, and that's huge. Like when I take a shower, I put eucalyptus or peppermint or some type of aromatherapy, and I sit down in the shower and I just close my eyes, I sit up with great posture, and I just thank the universe, I thank God, I thank myself, and I talk to myself the way that I want to be treated, right? I tell myself, I am a champion, I'm loved, I am a king, I'm one with God, I'm vibrating high. I'm training my subconscious mind while I'm in a great vibration, because now I set the intention, the smell is good in there, right? And it activates these different things in my brain to really like open up, and I feel more clear, I feel more clarity, I feel more at ease, I feel more present. And a lot of times we're not present, and it's because of the past, because we don't want to believe we're deserving.
And this is powerful. There's points where you could be going so fast because you had a rough childhood, you came from no money, so you're trying to go so fast, you're trying to bypass everything and everyone around you,
right?
But you actually don't even know where you're going, which is one of the worst things that you could. I'm just going so fast and hard, forward, linear. I can't see any higher. I'm just going the same. I'm going the same pathway, but I won't let myself stop to take a couple steps to then let me see that viewpoint on where that line is going.
Well, is it ever enough for you? You know what I mean? And I think that's what we have to ask ourselves. And that's why I had to stay more present in doing these things, is allowing me to actually be in the moment. And like, wow, you know what? I have everything.
Were there times in your life where you didn't know you were going to take a shower?
Oh, yeah. I've been homeless. I've slept in my car. I lived it, there was a time I got hit by a semi. I was negative $445 in my bank account. My son was 1 year old living with me. I was stealing diapers from the store because I didn't have money. I was working a manual labor job, 17, 18 hours a day, doing door-to-door sales for a solar company. And I had $0 in my bank account. And then at the time, got hired to Chippendales, right? And I was like, man, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to get the exposure I need. And I'm gonna create this massive brand. And then boom, God had a different direction. I got hit by the semi. I almost lost my life, literally. I had a hole in my head. They had to staple my head together. I had $12,000 in medical bills. The car that I had was totaled. I lost my job because I took a risk on myself, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to quit this. I'm going to invest in myself. And guess what? I'm literally sitting there. I'll never forget. I dropped to my knees while my son was sleeping in the bed. I went into the closet, and I just dropped to my knees, and I just started crying. I said, man, like I really hated life. When I woke up, I didn't want to wake up. I was trying to figure out a way to sleep longer, to keep dreaming. And then I was like, you know what? Stop feeling bad for yourself. That's not going to get you anywhere. Start expressing the gratitude for the things you do have. Start being grateful that all these things didn't happen to you, they happened for you. So now when I talk about my childhood, about being molested, about my father, about being in group homes, about being expelled from every school, and all the kids talking shit about being and sleeping in my car and being homeless and all these things, psychiatrists, psychologists, brain tests, polygraph tests, probation, all that, right? I'm so vulnerable about it because I'm so grateful that it happened to me, because now I'm able to have this enlightened conversation I can relate to. Before, I wouldn't be able to look you in the eyes more than fucking 10 minutes because it was like I was scared of what you were thinking of me, because my whole life I wasn't enough. I was going to be just like my father and in jail and dead and this and that, and like how you said, that's why I practice my language. Every morning I'm speaking to myself my I am statements. I have my son doing it now, to where when we wake up, we do our routine. And that's what I encourage everybody. Everybody's like, yo, can you just give me advice to become the best version of myself? Well, first of all, my favorite advice is experience. You have to experience whatever's in your path. My experiences are going to be different from yours, and your experiences are going to be different than mine. But what you can control is your routine. Part of your routine is slowing down. The reason why we go to our phone right away is because we got to check our email. Oh, what do I got to do for work? Oh, I got to respond to this girlfriend. Oh, she's mad at me. Oh, he's mad at me. And it's like, I just started my day with so many problems, instead of saying, hey, you know what? Grand rising, my beautiful people. Today's a great day to have a great day.
You got a chance to put some breakfast on the stove, you know? It's like, I think that we take, I'm guilty of it. I take those things for granted. I read something on my phone last night about, be thankful because you're living someone else's dream, and that was someone sick in the hospital.
Yeah, your problems are somebody else's dreams. And I had to realize that. But creating this routine has elevated me and transcended me into places I never thought I would be. And that really just meant to slow down. And they say you're supposed to meditate 30 minutes a day unless you're busy, then you have to meditate 2 hours a day. And that just means slow down, because just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. So sometimes I tell people like this, like, yeah, you're going so fast and you're doing all this stuff, but you're really shooting yourself in the foot, because at the end of the day, you're not at peace with yourself.
You're going in the same line with no height elevation.
Yeah.
I've done that so many times. I feel like I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
You know?
You'll never even be able to tell a guy like you come to Project Wellbeing and you just see this massive, amazing entity that has helped cultivate and shift so many people's lives, mind, body, and soul. You've given people hope to not only change their old habits, but to elevate their life, because they're in the best shape, best place, best experience. They have the best equipment. They have things that a lot of people don't have access to. And then you get those people like, oh, bro, will you pay $600 a month for that? Like, that's a lot of money. Well, it's only a lot of money if you feel lack. I don't feel lack. I'm going to find a way to make that $600. I don't even have a job, Sean, but I know that this is going to make me operate at the best version of myself, and I'm going to attract. And guess what? I'm investing in myself. You created a space and environment where millionaires and billionaires go. It is what it is. Rolls-Royce doesn't have commercials for a reason, because Rolls-Royce isn't for the average Joe. And we're all the same. So I just realized, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to go to the Project Wellbeings. Instead of going on a regular flight, I'm going to book a JSX private flight, because I'm putting myself in position to learn, to grow, to be the best person of myself. And I heard somebody else out there today say, they're like, I just started walking away when I was dealing with things I didn't want to deal with, instead of getting upset. And Jay Shetty, one of my mentors, somebody that I study a lot, said the ultimate part of detachment is not letting that person or thing control or consume you. It doesn't mean leaving. Stay uncomfortable. Be in that environment of like, oh, this is awkward, but you know what? I'm going to figure it out. And instead of getting upset, instead of reaction and becoming a slave to somebody who wants me to react and somebody that wants me to be in where they are at, how can I spread love? How can I listen? How can I move out of unconditional love? That's what we're from.
Yeah. I take stuff so personally that, yeah, you're right. You become a mentor slave to someone else, and it's because I thought that everything was happening to me and not for me. So as this person makes you feel like that, you're actually removing them from your life, even though you don't see it that way at the time. You're literally just, okay, this person's going to get pushed away naturally on their own, which brings me to the statement is as you start developing these mindset and practices, describe the circle of people that used to be around you and describe the circle of people that you can go to now.
Oh man, this is so powerful, because a lot of people are so attached to their loved ones, to their brother, their sister, their mom, their grandma, their grandpa, their kids. And I had to break myself. I mean, growing up, I've been alone my whole life. I have had a lot of time to be by myself and see things for what they are. To answer your question, I just took the goggles off in life. But what happens is when people take the goggles off, they see everything for what it is. And that's uncomfortable. Your best friend's really not your best friend. He's a hater. Your parents are really holding you back because they've been constructed for so long.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So ultimately, I just raised my vibration, mind, body, and spirit. And I didn't even have to try anymore. Instead of trying to fit in, or, I'm like, oh, wow, Sean owns this big, amazing place. I gotta be friends with him. I'm not forcing that anymore. I want it to happen organically. Even being a professional athlete and wanting all these sponsors, I don't want to just work with everybody. I want it to align with the current energy that I'm in right now. And you and I right now, I check on you all the time. You check on me. I consider you a friend of mine. But if we don't align anymore, or if you're in a low vibration, I'm just going to love you for where you're at. I'm always going to encourage you, but I can't allow you to take me down. And what I had to do is stop reaching my hand backwards. I want to be on people that are on the same vibration. That doesn't mean I'm judging you, because part of the 4 agreements is not to judge. Absolutely. And I understand. I was once there. I was once in a low vibration. I couldn't get out of my way. I was feeling sorry for myself. every conversation I had was, oh, this person's treating me this way, or this is happening at work. And now when you hear the conversation I'm having, some people have a hard time believing I'm so positive. But I practice this because even when I'm not feeling this way, Sean, I make sure that I don't become my thoughts and I create what I actually want. Because when you focus on what you want, you're going to attract who you are.
I think it's so important you have to practice when it's hard.
In the moment, yeah.
It means the most. Like practicing stuff when it's easy is the term. It's just easy, but really practicing what you're preaching when it's hard. I want to touch back on the things that you're doing actually are intangible items that don't require money. They don't require anything. They actually require you. And I don't think people can be honest with themselves. Big problem we have in today's world.
Lying to ourselves. You can only lie to yourself. And it's like, that's why I tell these people that hang on to their relationships, right? It's like, just stop lying to yourself. Accept it for what it is. Girls that tell me all these stories, I'm like, please just stop telling me a story. Like, look, I understand, but you don't have to lie to me because I just want to enjoy these moments. I was just having this conversation today. It was like, just appreciate the time that we have together right now, because all moments come to an end. And that's part of just being able to detach and understanding, you know what, just like you said earlier, like I'm ready to live my truth. I want people to know everything about me. I have nothing to hide. And I've been through a lot of things that I was embarrassed about. Expressing that I was molested by my own family, like that was hard for me to accept for a long time.
Yeah.
It made me feel guilty. It made me feel shame. It made me feel like why didn't people believe me? It made me feel so many different things that, you know what, I realized there's so many other people that dealt with the same thing. And I could advocate for that and just give people a little bit of love and light, like, yo, you're not alone.
Being honest and truthful, which is, what I wanted to achieve even starting this podcast. It's how I lived my whole entrepreneur life. It's like you get what you see, and I'm not perfect, so if I mess up or things aren't good, I'm going to say them. I'm going to showcase them. I'm going to learn from them because obviously it helps me. So as you share these things, just imagine how many people you help that bad things happen to them and they try, and they just feel trapped. They feel trapped that they're never going to be good enough to escape that because why me? Like, why did that happen to me?
Yeah.
And a lot of that is always due to people who grew up less fortunate because their mindset is already in the scarcity mindset from their own family. So it's like two things happen to you, and it's like, I'm never going to get out of that. That's what I was destined to be.
Right.
And I think that, being put into those pressurized situations is actually what creates
that diamond.
Greatness and mindsets. It doesn't come from growing up in a wealthy family and being handed every single thing and not having to work for your first car. That might work, but what that person misses is the opportunity to learn the steps that it takes to actually achieve something for themselves.
Creating real substance and foundation.
Because then you always have something to fall back on.
I know this may sound funny, but that's why I never believed in like the whole sugar mama thing. I'm in an industry where, that's a thing, for some people that may not understand, but I never really believed in that just because I wanted my own foundation. I didn't want somebody to control my every move and tell me what I can and cannot do. I'm not a caged animal. And that's why I encourage people to really take some time to reflect. That's why every single morning I do this journal. It's called the High Performance Planner. It's by Brendon Burchard. And every morning I sit down and it already has these pre-questions. And I sit there and I set my intentions, I ground myself, I set my goals, and I speak to myself of what I want, right? What I already am, not what I want to acquire, because we already have everything. And what this has allowed me to do is to be more present with how I feel. And instead of running away from my problems and instead of feeling bad for my problems, how can I take them on? Like, there's this amazing analogy about a cow and a bison, and when there's a storm, the bison runs towards the storm and the cow runs away from the storm. Well, the cow is in the storm a lot longer than the bison because the bison decided to take it head on. And that's why I love to fight, is because I love to do everything I'm afraid of. Anything that I'm scared of, anything that makes me feel like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen, I want to do that, because that is where I've grown the most. And to be able to sit here and reflect in the morning and at night has given me so much power, so much substance, so much foundation that now I'm trusting myself. I'm learning, like, Like even the things I didn't know, a lot of times we ask a friend that may not even be aligned, but will still give you advice just because they want to be the person that gave you advice, and then they led you down the wrong road.
Absolutely.
And I was tired of going to everybody else and trying to figure out what path to go on. Now I'm like in this divine path. I'm connected to source, and I'm trusting myself. And if I don't know anything, I'm okay with falling on my face, because guess what? I'm resilient. I'm gonna get back up. And it's actually inspired me, like guys like you and guys like Brendan Burchard, Jay Shetty, and all these people that have created a massive community of amazing energy, holistic energy, divine energy, just to better yourself. And I'm actually coming out with my own journal called Miles of Meditation. I kind of want to talk about that. So for about 6 years, I haven't been doing this one for 6 years, but for 6 years I've been journaling.
Every day?
Every single day. When I was in the group home, we had these goal sheets, and before anything, like we would have a group, we would write our goals and we'd write our affirmations and all these different things. And I actually saved all of them, and I'm very artistic, and I would draw on them, and it just allowed me to be present with my feelings. And instead of becoming my emotions, I was able to analyze them. I was able to reprogram the things that were embedded in my head over time, from social media, from social constructs, from genetics, from my upbringing, and realistically, this has helped me break my paradigm. But instead of, most people are used to being a part of people's motion instead of creating their own. And I am a brand, and I want to spread my love and light to all the people that are in the dark like I used to be. And so anyways, Miles in Meditation came upon me in a divine way. I was running Mount Charleston. I was training for one of my fights. I was in camp. It was wild because I got to Mount Charleston and I realized I forgot my shoes. I had slides on and I thought my running shoes were in my car. And they weren't. And I was already an hour and a half away from my house, and I was like, fuck it, like I'm gonna run this mountain without the shoes. I'm not, like, this is the circumstances. Like back in the old days, they didn't have shoes, so fuck it, I'm gonna figure this out. And I ran 6.5 miles all the way up that mountain. There was snow on the ground, the road was wet, and it was freezing cold. I made it all the way up.
What made you keep going?
I'm testing my limits. Like, I knew that it was gonna hurt. I knew that the road wasn't this smooth paved road where it's like, and there was snow on the ground. And I was like, man, most of us, when we see something's hard, we just kind of like, you try it, I can't get it. And we give up. I'm like, I made a commitment that day. I'm gonna go as far as I can, but at least I'm gonna try. I don't care if I get halfway up and I can't do it anymore. I just want the satisfaction of understanding that this is uncomfortable and there's going to be a lesson out of this, and I'm going to grow. And this isn't about anybody else. This is about me becoming the best version of myself. So let me challenge myself. So that's what I did. I made it, and I recorded it. I made it all the way up. And it was one of those moments where you want to show everybody. And it was like, man, I put the phone down. I got my little video to show the proof. And I had somebody that, drove the car next to me, like the whole routine. And when I got up there, I felt so empowered. I felt so I felt like a superhuman. I am a superhuman, and anything is possible to somebody that's willing to try. And when I got up there, I just was like, wow, what else can I do? That I've set limits on myself before because I was told I wasn't good enough, or I told that I'm not going to be rich, or that I have to work a job, and you know what I mean? I was like, fuck that. Like, that's not true. So anyways, I'm on my way down, and I just wanted to be in nature. Usually the person that drives right next to you up, you just get in the car and we drive down so you don't have to walk the 6 miles back down. I wanted to walk back down because I wanted to be in touch with nature. I just wanted to feel just the energy from the trees and just everything, right? And halfway down, I was fixing my sock because my socks were soaked because the ground was, had snow on it. And there was a railing, so that any cars that drive up, they don't go off the rail. Well, I'd stop, I was fixing my sock, and something made me look over that railing. And on the other side of the railing was a Buddha statue in the snow with its head cut off. And I was like, this can't be real. I thought I was dreaming for a second because, as you know, I have the Buddha on my back.
Yeah.
And I resonate with the Buddha. I just feel like it's my protector. I believe in all different things. I believe in God. I believe in, different religions, but I'm not constructed to one thing. But the Buddha has been something that's resonated with me. I've been to Thailand for a month at a time. I got to really enlighten myself with that way of living. And there it is. I just ran my miles and boom, this Buddha. And I've been talking about miles of meditation. And boom, I see this Buddha. I was like, wow, I just did my miles and that's my meditation. And I was like, this is going to be a big company one day. I said, it already is big. I'm going to create a nonprofit organization. I'm going to do charity runs where we all dress up in costumes and just have fun. And we raise money for charities and just create a fun, holistic space for people to feel comfortable in and realistically slow down. Like miles doesn't mean you have to run. Miles could be you're doing miles of journaling.
Everyone's got ideas and they think that finishing them is hard, or even it's actually starting it. It's the very first step, because you don't know if it's going to take 1 month, 20 months, 20 years, but something that someone's passionate about will always be a daily practice. So it actually doesn't matter how long that it takes. So I think it's really important to showcase that actually starting something is the hardest thing to do.
And don't force trying to, like anybody that's listening to this, I used to try to force things to happen. Like, man, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to create this business, or I'm going to make this connection. And the more and more I forced it, I just felt myself farther and farther and farther away. But the miles of meditation was divine energy. This was me allowing myself to not give up. Everything happens for a reason. There's a reason why I still ran that mountain. I still have that Buddha today. And I just got arrested in Cabo as soon as I got off the plane because I had some joints in my luggage, which it's legal to have, but I didn't understand the rules. Well, this is another divine situation where I get locked up in a place where it's very uncomfortable. Nobody speaks any English. I have no clue what's going on. You just see guys with guns and nobody's telling you what's going on besides you just committed a serious offense and you're going to pay for this. And the whole time I felt calm because I know I've been connected to God. I've been connected to spirit. Like whatever happens is going to happen. I can't control what I can't control. But when I was sitting in the judge's office, as soon as he left, I looked at the bookcase and that same Buddha that I found, that I still have to this day, that's on my back, was sitting right there. And I'm in Cabo. Like this isn't like a Buddha, you know what I'm saying? And I just realized, like, you know what? I'm just gonna flow with the law of least resistance, and I'm not gonna tell the universe what it already has in store for me. I'm not forcing relationships. I'm not forcing connections. I'm not forcing sponsorships. I'm not forcing love. I'm just living present in this moment, and I'm accepting the things I can and knowing that I have the wisdom, or I'm accepting the things I can't change and having the courage to change the things I can and the wisdom to know the difference. And part of that is just like you said, just living my truth. Like if you don't like me, it's okay. Yeah. I get it. But that is what it is.
Like for me, and building the company, it's like I never would give myself the ability to like just relax for a day. I actually don't think I can do that right now still, and I'll share a little stories that you gave me that journal. And I wrote in it the first day, and then I tried to write in the second day, closed it. I tried to write in the third day, and then every time I would go and try to write it, my mind would trick me that something else was more important at the time to go and do. That something else that took priority over my own mental health. It just, so what happened was I closed it, and the funny part is it's right in my closet on my shoes. So I keep moving it from place to place, and then I think I disassociated with that. It was the journal that you gave. I'll be for sure writing in that tomorrow, because it's not the journal. It's the fact that I think that my mental health is not important and actually in someone else's hands, that I can't spend 5 or 10 minutes writing down what's actually going on in my brain. Right. And the fact is that I don't even know how long ago that was that you gave that to me, but it was a while, at least many months. Yep. So the fact is I would accumulate many months of not taking care of my brain is a problem to me. Yeah. Because I know what that turns into. Yeah. Now it's habitual.
And you could have created habits, and a lot of the things, the reason why I gave you that journal is because you had expressed you were going through some things at the time, and I was like, yo, you know what? Like, I can completely relate, but you know what? Everything was clouding your mind, and you have to not only be the person you are at home, but when you go to work and you have so much responsibility that it takes time away from mental clarity and being able to sit down, slow down, set your intentions, and start your day in a high vibration to where if I can win my morning, I can win my day. And it's funny because what just happened to me, I broke my rib. I was supposed to fight on the 12th. And during camp, shout out to Rob Safar, you know what I mean? Broke my rib. Yeah, it was literally my last sparring session and I broke my rib, and I'm not used to slowing down. I'm used to training every day. Sean, this is my 3rd week of not training. I haven't touched a weight. I haven't been in a gym. I haven't ran my miles of meditation. I've been walking. But at first I couldn't even walk because I was in so much pain. I couldn't even get out of bed. It was hard to laugh. It was hard anytime I sneezed, it felt like my rib came out. It was the worst pain. And what made it even worse was every time I looked in the mirror, I had to battle like, wow, I don't look the same as if I'm in the gym every day, but that's an illusion. It's an illusion that I created. I look fantastic. And now that I got to slow down, certain relationships have gotten better. I've gotten to spend more time with my son. I got to understand everything that I've already created is such a blessing, and to appreciate what I already have. And that, you know what, that sometimes I distract myself by going so fast. And we do that because we don't want to deal with the actual pain that we're going through.
Yeah, I don't drink. I've never done drugs, but I have a real addiction. It was worse than drugs and alcohol. And it is the addiction of work. Because work produces a deep sadness, and I use work to cover up everything in my life, all traumas, all pain, all fear, because I thought that
that's all you knew.
Work this, and I would, just like how you said, you wanted to sleep longer. I wanted to work as long as I could till I physically couldn't anymore. So I would pass out for 2 or 3 hours and wake back up. So I got all the sleeping problems. I do use work still as a drug to combat things that I don't want to deal with. And I'm learning how to not do it anymore, but it's a real struggle. It's a real struggle for something that I think probably from when I was 14 or 15 years old, used for almost 18 years as an abusive substance in order to escape from things. That's 18 years of abuse. And it's really difficult to take my mindset and be like, you're gonna be okay. Like, it's okay not to be okay. You don't need to be afraid of it. You don't need to, control. I could go on the vacation with you to Hawaii, and as soon as I lay down and sit on that sand, it's my favorite place to be. I'm worrying about everything but myself. I'm not able to enjoy laying on that beach or the sand. I can't enjoy walking through Disneyland and relaxing. That's when I realized that I have a real problem.
Yeah, and how many people are escaping their actual reality, And we talk about mind, body, soul, right? And being able to have all those things congruent. You see a lot of these guys, they're in phenomenal shape. But those guys that are in phenomenal shape are some of the most insecure people. And not just men either, men and women are some of the most insecure people. So that's why I said, you know what, like, your body looks good, but where's your mind at?
That's what got me away from that 10 years ago. I started shifting into what I don't even know what Project Wellbeing is, man. I don't know what the end goal is, but I think you're right. It's something that I work on every day. It's my dream. It just so happens to be a business, but I don't really know what this thing is going to turn into. But I do know how powerful it is and what it creates for people. And it's interesting is that when you create something, sometimes the creator is not a user of what they actually created, even though it's just in this, this transformative thing. I just saw it as a problem. Like, I need to make it better. I need to make it better. I need to make it better. And actually would take it away from me using it from my own resources. Yeah. I give all day, give all day, give all day. But somehow didn't want to receive. Like, I thought receiving was weak. I think that's the problem. I thought receiving was weak. That if I receive something, it's going to make me weak. So I'm just going to give and give and give. And then you got nothing. Actually, you start giving little pieces of yourself to other people that you eventually have to go and get back. Yeah. You can get it back, but that's going to hurt too. Yeah. You got to go and get it back. So I think that, building the sense of community and culture that is inside of Project Wellbeing. And again, I know that it's a business, but it's far beyond that to me. It's really a manifestation of how you conduct yourself. It just so happens to be in physical form. What I don't think that people see is what this actually is in a form that's silent, doesn't look like anything. It was always my form of inner excellence. So if I could execute on inner excellence in what you would see in physicality, it would be something like this. I just unfortunately didn't utilize my own tools, which I'm sure a lot of successful people don't utilize their own tools.
Right.
Why? I don't know. It's a great question I want to figure out.
Well, because a lot of time, I mean, if I could answer your question, something that I've learned, and Joe Dispenza talks about this. I don't know if you know who Joe Dispenza is, but he literally became famous overnight almost. He's a scientist, and he's a philosopher, and he speaks to millions of people, and he literally became famous overnight because of his profound message and his way to connect science with the body, the mind, the soul, and to show people a new way of living and how to reprogram their old subconscious minds, their old paradigm, being able to actually take control of your life. And the reason why a lot of us teach or create such a massive thing is because we have a hard time doing that for ourselves. So part of doing it for others is filling that void for ourselves. And I used to do that. I used to want to help everybody else. So instead I had to start becoming, they say you become so selfish. You have to become so selfish that you can become more selfless. And so I started to invest all that time and energy into me, and understanding that, hey, there's a lot of energy vampires around you and you're giving away your energy for free. And so, it's like a lot of times we're running away from all the things that we actually need to deal with. And that's why I like this, because it holds me accountable, putting in the work every single day. So I just want you to know, I like to draw, so anybody that sees this,
you document it for other people to see the practice. I think it's important for people to see the practice.
I want people to not just look at me as a sex symbol. I don't want people to just look at me for this guy that is great at everything that he does, or that is handsome and has all these different things. I've created this lifestyle. When I first moved out here, I was taking pictures on Fremont Street with staples in my head. I had a cowboy hat on. I was living in some halfway house on a small mattress, a twin size mattress, and I had to figure it out. I was only making a couple $100s a day, and every single day I would go on my phone and I'd look up every condo in the city of Las Vegas. I would look at the one car that I wanted, which at the time was a Mercedes S550. I thought if I had that, I fucking made it. And I ended up getting everything that I wanted, even the bad things that I thought about. We are so powerful. So when I do this, when I wake up and I set my intention and I focus on what I want, I start to have everything that I want. But I had to realize I already have that, because I come from God. We're just all remembering where we come from.
Yes.
And when people say, "Oh, I'm not perfect," no, we were born perfect, but we were created from all these social construct and all the things, right? And so we lost touch with reality. We lost touch with nature. And when you actually take the time to slow down and to be one with God, one with yourself, it's so profound. You stop running away from everything that you're trying to hide. It's like, you can't help that you got molested by your own family. You can't help that you grew up in the circumstances that you were given. But you can alchemize every situation. And part of you, when you say, "Oh, I don't know what Project Wellbeing is going to be," well, we do, because we're constantly evolving the same way that Project Wellbeing is. Like, ever since I came here, like, man, I come here not just for the recovery aspect. I come in here to be inspired. I come in here to also be a part of bringing good energy to the community that I know that means a lot to you, because you mean a lot to me. I don't know you for too long, but I don't put time limits on the feelings. And I'm going to always express myself, because I could leave right now and this would be the last time you saw me, God forbid, but anything is possible. So I want to just continue to be vulnerable and learn. And I could tell it's uncomfortable sometimes to, like, damn, I got to talk about this, and I know I'm going through this, and maybe he's going to judge me. Bro, I don't care anymore, because everything's happening for a reason. So I'm trusting in myself. I'm trusting divine source, and I'm trusting that, hey, if we could create a community, which what happens to the world? We all trying to do things by ourselves instead of creating a unit. And if we all moved out of oneness, then guess what? We would all be in a better place. I don't see competition. When I come here, I'm like, oh man, like I gotta step my shit up. Like, no, how can I either one, add value? What can I learn? Or how could I be a part?
Yeah.
So now, like, this guy inspired me. I've given out I've bought in over 50 journals. This journal costs $24, right? So times that by 50 journals. I've spent a lot of money on somebody else's thing. But now I'm going to create my own. It's already in the mix, Miles of Meditation. And I want my gift of gratitude to people be my own creation. So thank you for inspiring me. But now that's why it's funny, a lot of people don't want to. The richest place in the world is the grave, because most people won't give you their information. They won't tell you the secrets. They won't help you move to the next level. I don't think about it. I don't think about it like that. There's no competition at this level. We're collaborating. Most people, I would tell them, hey, if you want me on your podcast, you're going to pay for my time. But sometimes it's not about the money. It's about understanding that we're on the same frequency. You already do enough for me. How can I add more value to you now? Yeah. And if we tithe with our energy, you don't have to tithe in church and like how they say, like, oh, when you go to, like, just take that 10% tithing and do that with everybody you're around. Tithing could be me texting, hey, Sean, man, I know you're whatever. I just want to send you some love and light. Just always know I'm a phone call away. And to somebody that may not be used to that, I'm like, oh, what does this guy want? Like, that's weird. Like, and not accept it. But that's okay. Eventually you will, and eventually Absolutely. They will, and eventually it will come full circle, because they realize energy doesn't lie. And that's what this does for me. That's what doing my Miles of Meditation does for me. That's what Project does for us, is it creates a community to hold us accountable. You see certain people that come in here every single day and don't miss, and come at that same time and do their entire routine. That's inspiring. But you see their body, and then guess what? You have a conversation with them, and you're like, damn, how is your body so amazing? And you're so good at this routine, but your mind isn't good. Your situation at home isn't good. And it allowed me to understand when I broke my rib, like, damn, instead of getting upset and be like, oh man, I can't fight, and poor me, and bro, I can't even make money with my body right now doing the things that I usually do. But instead of feeling bad for myself, I accepted it. I said, I'm connected to source. What can I do? What can I do right now? And it allowed me to hone in on a whole nother aspect. And man, I'm thankful that I'm here. I'm thankful that you had me on this podcast. I'm thankful that you even expressed yourself and been vulnerable. And like, the more and more that we do this, the more and more that we're going to grow a community of other enlightened people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like, it's powerful. It's changed my life. I'm a big advocate for personal development, self-growth. I'm a big advocate for mind, body, and spirit. So every single day is like, yo, if you guys can, which everybody can, you just figure it out. Find a way to eat as healthy as possible. Find a way to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the same frequency of people. Make sure that you have a good routine that grounds you and puts you in a high vibration. Because like I said, if you can win that morning, you can win the day. And even when things happen, just reset, refocus, and restart, and boom, because life isn't that serious. We take this shit way too serious. Have fun. I'm in the era of having fun. Like, I want to be my best self. I want to be a joy to people. I want to be a joy to myself. And I'm not hiding from anything. So me being positive and doing the journal and doing this routine and sharing it, and me posting certain things that some people might be like, wow, he's cocky, or wow, he's bragging or showing off. It's like, no, I just want to show you guys that whatever you want is possible. Yeah, anything that you want. Anything that you want.
Mindset, yes.
Anything, because you attract who you are. So if you're attracting somebody who cheats on you, that's because you're probably cheating on them, and you're just lying to yourself. And I was that guy. I always lied to myself, and I'll never forget when I was locked up in the group home. This guy told me how to beat the polygraph test, because I just had anxiety. I would tell the truth and still fail the test. He's like, man, you just can make yourself believe that you're not lying. He said, I told myself this lie that I ended up believing. And then now when I take these polygraph tests, I pass them every time. And even though he did it in a manipulative way, he taught me how to alchemize all my situations and really just live my truth. And everything that happens, I'm just going to accept, because it's my truth. If I'm going to say something, even if it doesn't come right on this podcast, I'm just being present. This isn't scripted. This is my most authentic self. And even before we came in here, it's like, bro, let's just Let's just be us.
Yeah, that's why like when I started this, like I didn't care. Sure, I'll get professional athletes on here and stuff like that. I mean, I worked with a lot of them, but it wasn't for them being a professional athlete. I wanted to showcase who they were as a person.
Yeah.
Not as their title as a professional athlete, because I think they get tired of that sometimes.
Yes.
It's just what they're good at doing. But
yes.
Who are they as a person?
Yes.
And I made myself that promise that that's what this whole thing was going to be about. And I didn't care who was going to be on my podcast. I don't even have, I used to think that, man, I work with over 700 professional athletes. Let me add 701, 2, and 3. And I was obsessive over it. And I realized that, for what? I didn't even get a chance to appreciate that I was working with all these people because I was just so focused on effort and growth, and I can go back and get that, but damn, that was a lot. It was 10 years of my career, that did I absorb everything that I was supposed to get out of that? I mean, it was a blessing to be able to have those people trust me, and I was giving them an exceptional service, but I don't think I was appreciating what I was doing.
Right.
I don't want to make that mistake in this next chapter. So anyone I come in contact with, sometimes it's the person checking you out at the cash register. They may tell you something more profound than this person that charges $20,000 for you to talk to them. And they'll be able to tell you something real that you actually needed to hear.
Being able to accept all those divine situations is just being in your highest dharma, being able to feel that vibration. And like Nikola Tesla says, and I'm a big advocate for this, the secret to the universe is frequencies, energies, and vibrations. And once again, that's why I do this. That's why I journal. That's why I created a routine that allows me to be the best version of myself. And you know what's crazy? It's not crazy, but is what has made me feel so like amazing in life is I grew up without a father, so I didn't know how to parent. I never knew what I was doing, but I just trusted myself, and I told myself that I'm going to lead by example, and I'm going to become the best version of myself. So at least I know I'm leading by example. And now my son, every day when we wake up, he writes in his journal. He writes his I am statements. He literally remembered this whole money affirmation, and we say it 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, and 9 times at night. And I'm so happy and grateful now that health, wealth, and prosperity comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. I told my son that one time. It took him one time to remember that, and it inspired me. I'm like, wow, we can literally do anything that we want to do. And the fact that I get to meditate with my son, I get to do my stretching, I get to do my miles, I get to do my journaling. It's just created like this. I'm just at peace with myself. I don't care what other people think about me. I had some lady tell me the other day, she's like, why do you try to be so perfect? Why do you try to dress so nice all the time? Like, just try to be normal. I'm like, I don't know what your normal is, but this is who I am. The reason why I dress nice and have nice things is because I want to attract that, and it makes me feel good. My presentation is key.
Absolutely.
I'm not doing this because I want likes and I want the fame and I want the clout and I want all the girls and no.
It's the way that you respect yourself.
Yes, I love myself. So this is what I want. This is my truth. I have, and I am that. And this leads me to my last thing. This last weekend, this was so divine. I was in Arlington, Texas for the Jake Paul fight against Mike Tyson. I was ringside, and I could have easily sat in the nosebleeds or got a good seat that wasn't ringside, but I decided to invest that money into myself because one, I know I'm going to fight in a big stadium like that in front of millions of people, and I'm just wanting to experience what it feels like because you have to be him before you become him. So now it wasn't about being at the fight, it was just about being in that environment and visualizing and being present in the moment. I felt like I was fighting. I had butterflies just going there. Like when I was taking a shower to put on my outfit, I felt like I was imagining it was me fighting. Because I practice all the things I practice, I'm in such alignment that I'm so magnetic, I'm attracting everything that I am. And so when I was there ringside, the best thing that happened to me was I was getting a drink of water and I looked to my left and Jay Shetty's walking right towards me. I thought I was dreaming. I'm not a fanboy of anybody. I respect everybody in their craft, but everybody's equal. You know, just some people put in more work.
Absolutely.
But we literally ran right into each other, and I stopped him and I said, man, I said, I don't usually do this. I said, but can I have like 5 minutes of your time? He looked at me with a big smile, and I just said, first, can I give you a hug? And that's another thing. I don't just give another man a hug. And I gave him at least a 20-second hug, and I felt an energy that just made me feel so good. And I told him, I just want to give you your flowers. I want to just let you know that I read your book, How to Think Like a Monk. It changed my life, not the book itself, but the reassurance and the love and light that you're spreading. I'm so grateful that you have your journey and decided to share it with millions of people and be vulnerable and to live your truth, because it's allowing me to do the same. And two of the most profound things in that book was learning how to control your breathing, which which most people don't do. Most people don't connect to their breath, which if you don't know how to control your breathing, you'll become a slave to society, because now people can get you to react. People, like even when I'm in the ring, I have to learn how to control my breathing, or else what's going to happen? I'm going to gas out and I'm going to get beat up. So the second thing is he has this quote, and he didn't make this quote up, but it's his favorite quote. And the quote goes like this: I'm not what you think I am. I'm not what I think I am. I am what I think you think I am. And the reason why that's so powerful to me is because we live in a perception of ourselves.
Yes.
And a lot of times, Sean, I'll come into an environment like this. There's a lot of alpha energy here. There's a lot of greatness here. And so if you don't know who you are, and if you're going through things that you're trying to hide, that will come out. And when I'm staring a guy like you in the face, or somebody else that has their shit together, and the reason why I say this is because we're all still learning and growing and working on ourselves. But if I'm constantly thinking about what you're thinking, I'm just going to adopt that. And so when I would go into the mall, or when I would walk in here, I always wow, people are staring at me. And even if they weren't, I was thinking that. So guess what I'm attracting? And so when I realized wow, my mind is so powerful, why don't I fall in love with myself without having to feel love from a significant other, without, if my son doesn't love me the way that I feel I should be loved, because nobody owes us anything. Not your mom, your fucking dad, not your coworkers, not the employees that you've changed their life. I've changed a lot of people's life, and guess what? I'm not taking accountability for it, because you changed your life.
Absolutely.
I just inspired you, which means we're all in spirit. And so when I stopped judging myself, and when I started to accept who I am, and whatever it is, I'm attracting that. Now that I'm in the state of loving myself the most, now I notice more people love me. Now I notice more people actually check on me now, instead of it being me all the time. And then I'm you know what? I love this, because I'm living abundant. I do more for others than I do for myself, and I love that. It makes me feel good, because my cup is overflowing. And I don't live in lack. I don't live in fear of the reason why I got that Corvette C8 is so that I could afford it. Bro, people look at me and they're
it does something to you. I remember when I bought my first Raptor, I traded in I had to take over my mom's expedition payment, because she wasn't able to make the payment. She was going to lose the car. So I just took that. I said, okay, I got to take this on. So I had a 10-year-old car, and I remember, and because this is going to lead me into this one more thing about perception. I had a lot of high-end clients, so I was embarrassed that I would drive this old Expedition to their home.
Yeah.
So I would park it down, grab my massage table, go inside, because I thought that they were going to care about what I was driving more so than they were caring about how skilled I was as a therapist and caring about them. And so I remember when I got that first Raptor, it scared the shit out of me when I got that car paint. I'm oh man, was this a good idea? And I've since then had 5 Raptors. Here's where the significance comes from. I was coming home from a concert 2 months ago, and I told myself about a year ago that I was good enough to pay to valet my car no matter where I'm at. To think about that, only until a year ago did I feel like I was worth paying for the valet, so I wouldn't have to walk or get the car. So the car comes out of the valet, and everyone's like, oh man, that's a nice truck, blah, blah. So I go and I open the door for my lady, put her into the car, and then this gentleman stopped me. He says, "Hey, I just want to let you know," he's like, "you're a real man." He's like, "I want my daughter to find a real man that opens up the door for them." And previous to that, and walking through the hotel, like, "Oh man, you're huge, you got tattoos, and blah blah." So it was really interesting how people's perception of the outside doesn't see the inside. But I wish that everyone would have saw me open up the door. And guess what? I open the door for everyone.
Yes.
I also say hi to everyone.
Yes.
Every day. I don't walk by a person and don't acknowledge them. I feel like I've had that happen to me for a long time. When I was building this company, I had some of my best clients try to turn me down that it was a stupid idea to want to follow my dream. So I no longer walk by anyone without giving some purpose or meaning.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm not willing to do that anymore. That might have been a turning point in my mindset. But yeah, it's really interesting, people's perception of you and what they really see. I wish that everyone would have saw me open up the door and put her into the car. But only one man saw that, and the rest saw the car.
But that's
with
why,
my head tattoo.
right?
That's all I saw.
Right. But that's why the perception of ourself is so important, because now I'm doing everything with integrity. I do so much, Sean, that I used to wish everybody could see, and then I was like, you know what? I love myself so much that eventually people will feel that, and it leads me to this next thing is I was struggling with co-parenting, and I have to say this in a respectful way, but I didn't really have my rights as a father. So every single day in this journal, I would write down, and it says it right here. I can literally open up any page because I write it every single day. It says, the big project I have to keep in mind that I want to take on, even if I can't act towards them today, are, and I put self-growth and my rights as a father. And I learned this profound meditation to where I can now meditate into people. And I know that may sound scary to somebody listening to this, but I started meditating into the mother of my child, right? And a lot of times people still feel like you're the young man or little boy that they once met. And me personally, I've been evolving, I've been learning, I've been growing. So I'm not once the guy or little boy that you once experienced. And people have a hard time accepting that growth because they haven't grown. Because most people are judging you for where they're still at because they haven't been putting in the work. And guys like you and I are constantly putting in that work. Now you're starting to understand that, hey, it's not just physical. I don't need to just work on my body, and I don't need to just work on my business. My business is going to grow when I'm in the best spiritual version of myself, my highest dharma. And so what I started doing is, instead of trying to get people to see who I am, instead of forcing my growth onto all my friends that would just I was losing relationships. They're like, oh my God, I'm tired of this freaking guy, just always positive. And it's sometimes people don't want to hear that, you know what I mean? And so instead of forcing myself onto everybody, I just started leading by example. And the reason why I post my journal every single day, sometimes it'll be 3:00 in the morning when I get home and I'm exhausted, but I will not miss this. I'm committed to becoming the best version of myself. And ultimately, I learned how to accept who I am, and then anything that I didn't like, I'm meditating into. So now I'm visualizing the mother of my child, because this is the thing that I was struggling with the most. I couldn't figure out how to make this better. I couldn't figure out how to get on the same page, because it wasn't about me, it's about my son. I don't want my son to experience what I had to experience. Absolutely. And I'll do whatever it takes so that this little boy, because this is my responsibility, so this little boy can live the most amazing life. And I'm not talking about items and toys, and I'm talking about internally. I want him to feel love and unconditionalness. And when I started to meditate into this person, I swear to you, Sean, everything changed. I paid $5,000 to get a lawyer to take my son's mom to court so that we could, and I didn't want to do that. But there was nothing, I couldn't figure out another way to get the rights as a father. It was how do I have this child and I have no say in where he goes to school? I don't know where you guys live. I don't have access to my son. I can't take him back to Vegas when I bought this condo and have a whole extra room with my son's face painted on a freaking Hulk body. it was hurting me. And so I learned how to meditate into things and people, and what I do is I visualize that person and I feed them unconditional love and I wish them success, and I just started sending her hearts and heart emojis and wishing that maybe she finds a guy like me. It might not be me, obviously, but hopefully that can enlighten her and help start her journey, right? And that's when everything shifted. So now, me writing down every single day the rights as a father, I didn't realize how powerful that was, because it didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen. Like going to court, I paid all this money and I didn't have enough money to keep going, so they just kept sucking me dry. But you know what? I didn't stop writing that. And now, thank you to the universe, thank you God for actually shifting what was going on in those times to what's happening now, which is so much more peace. Like, I'm not frustrated that I can't do certain things that I want to do. Instead, I'm accepting them and I'm moving out of unconditional love, and I'm learning to just, you know what? I'm not forcing anything on anybody. Even if, you know what, like I bought you a journal, right? Even if you don't do it, I'm not upset. Eventually you will.
Everything now, I feel like if I write in it, I'll actually get what I'm supposed to, because everything is right in its own time, right?
Facts. And so now it's like, yo, everything's changing for me. I'm at such peace. This is the best like I've ever felt. I feel like I was just meditating before I came here. I went to the golf course. I took my shoes off and I just was sitting there. I can't do as much because my rib. But I was just sitting there just, wow, like nothing bothers me anymore. Like there's a lot that happens to me every single day, and I'm just learning how to alchemize it and stay in that uncomfortableness and get something out of it instead of running from it. You know, like we all run from our problems or we inflict ourselves with medications or drugs or work.
The self-infliction is huge, but I think that you've discovered what actual self-mastery is.
And that's why I resonate so much with the monk, is because they don't have phones. They don't have mirrors. They don't have distractions.
I probably have 40,000 hours of experience in 4 different things, mastery of 4 levels. Where did I not put my mastery into myself? So I got about 9,999 hours of self-mastery to conduct on myself.
And it's not too late.
It's not too late, but thank God that I discovered it was a problem now.
Yeah.
Imagine being 50 and 60 years old and discovering this when you're at the end of your lifetime. That's a bad place to be at.
Yes.
So again, everything is right timing. Man, this is an incredible conversation.
Yeah, and I just want to say I'm so grateful for you, Sean. I know that we don't really know each other like for years and years, but the fact that you've had me on this podcast and allowed me to speak my truth and to spread some of my love and light and wisdom, and you're such a great listener. Everything that you're doing with Project Wellbeing, I really truly feel you're more than just Project Wellbeing. With your own personal experience and growth, I know that you're going to change even more lives. And, I'm such a fan and supporter in any way that I could be of service or value to you. Like I always tell you, I'm a call away, and it's never too late. And we're helping each other like that. This is, we're together. You know what I mean? Like all of us. And I wish that everybody could be one, but the more and more that we help the universe become more spiritually conscious, the more and more that we're just going to all be on the same direction and same wave. And it's all about love. It's all about light. Like it's not about everything that we acquire. It's just this present moment. Just Absolutely. Even like, I know we've been on this for at least an hour, and I know your mind's probably racing. You got a lot, but
no, I was like, I don't care how long we're in here for.
Yeah.
I already had stress from 7 a.m. to now. So I'm like, you know what, I want to enjoy the fact that I even can do this podcast like this,
Me too.
None of this is meant to make any money. None of that. It's just about life and awareness. That is it.
Right. Creating a community, and that's what we're doing. And man, like I just feel so empowered. I feel enlightened, and I just can't stop saying my gratitude. As soon as you texted me, Sean, I can't lie to you. As soon as you texted me last night, I couldn't even sleep. Like I was ready for the podcast right then and there, because I was like, I felt so blessed that you considered me, you know what I mean? Because you work with thousands of athletes, from the Raiders to the UFC guys to everybody, right? And you decided to message me, and like, I just know that I'm in my divine path, my divine purpose, and together we can change lives and help give awareness to people that don't understand that this is a lifestyle.
This is a podcast for people.
Yeah.
I don't need it to be a podcast for pro athletes, business entrepreneurs, whatever. They may do that, but this is a podcast for people, first and foremost. If it doesn't turn into anything, this is definitely one of them, is connecting with people.
Yeah, and this is all guided, literally all guided. I mean, it's bigger than us. It's bigger than, like, sometimes when I speak, it just comes out like from divine source. I have a question. If you had the opportunity to tell your younger self something, what would you tell your younger self?
That's a great question. And I'll touch on something that I talked to a neuro PhD graduate about 7 days ago. And he told me that all childhood trauma occurs between 1 and 7 years old, which is very interesting because I find myself really struggling to remember things from the time, but I do remember something.
Yes.
Because your subconscious wants to cancel it all out. You can remember anything as a kid and as an adult. So I do remember multiple times it would be 4th of July, and I would be in my house and I wasn't going outside. So I would look at all the kids doing fireworks on the street, and I was in this dark room. And I remember that for at least 3 to 4 years, and it really did mess me up inside of my head, why I wasn't allowed to go outside and have fun, to participate. You know, I don't want to say anything bad about my mom, but I know for that one, because I can remember the color of the room, where the computer was, where the light switch was, very vividly. I can remember that room. And I could go back and say, like, you're going to get your chance one day to be great, you know?
I swear that was so, like, I could resonate with that too. Is like, I used to push everything so far away, all these traumatic traumas that I dealt with, because I didn't want to deal with them. And I pushed it so far under the rug that I didn't want to remember it. Everything that happens to me, I always just short-term memory, just forget about it, because I don't want to be in that pain anymore. It was a sense of like protecting myself. And I realized, like, most people that do that, they always have a midlife crisis. I'll never forget when my therapist told me, he said, be blessed and feel grateful that all this stuff happened to you now, because it happens to most people and they put it under the rug. They don't deal with it. They don't get treatment. They don't get the help. They don't seek the enlightenment. And guess what? Later on, they either commit suicide or they have this midlife crisis. And
honestly, I think that's where the tattoos came from. Like, I've always liked tattoos, but I don't think at this extraordinary level to tattoo my whole body in a year, you know? And that's definitely got signs of a midlife crisis. And I also, just from working so hard, going through a divorce, feeling so much uncertainty, you know, people, they can't see what you're struggling with, because I still have to show up here and be my best self, you know. Man, it wasn't 100%, but no matter what I go through, I'm always giving other people my best self. But yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because, like, for sure, Motorcycle came out full on tattoos. Then I like the tattoos, so I don't regret that I got them all. But it was a way for me to express myself at the loudest capability where you could see it as well. So I don't regret getting any of them, because they're all a part of me now, and for all specific reasons.
mine too, yeah.
You know, so it's like I want to embrace that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't get a tattoo unless it means something to me. Every one of my tattoos has a significant meaning. It's my life story. It's things that I've been through. And it's funny, people are like, oh, are you going to do that? I'm like, I don't get a tattoo unless it has a meaning. So I'm not just putting shit on my body because it looks cool. I'll never forget when this dude told me, he's like, you think anybody's going to mess with me? I got all these fucking tattoos on my head and face and this and that. And he thought he was so hard because he had tattoos. I'm like, man, what are you really running from? It was like, so many people have adopted this mindset of like not normalizing being vulnerable and being who they are. And it's like everybody's following everybody else's footsteps and trying to emulate this beautiful person or this amazing business instead of just living your truth and letting it come to you.
Yeah.
Like, It's like, it's okay that all these things happen, but how can I redirect what happened to me and make it for the better good and utilize it as a teaching lesson? Because we're socially constructed before we were even born. Genetics, like in the womb, that's when we're being programmed. Then that age 1 through 7 is the most vital aspect of our life. So it's like now we've picked up all these habits that our parents had, or that the schools teach us, or now in today's society, social media for the younger kids, you know, and it's like, that's why I just teach people and lead by example. Hey, whatever it is that you want, good or bad, you're going to have. So if you focus on negative or you focus on lack, you're going to have lack. If you focus on abundance and infinite powers, that's what you're going to have.
It's really interesting. Like, let's say you saw me and another professional. You look at me and be like, ooh, this guy looks kind of crazy, and this guy's normal. But you know, the interesting thing is my vision to self-express myself and the ultimate vision and give my real self to someone versus someone that preaches things that they may not practice, or actually preach things that aren't right.
Yeah.
And you have your kids listen to this all the time because that person looks normal. I think we're starting to understand that normal doesn't look like anything. You know, and there's plenty of disguises going on in the world. So I chose to wear mine on the outside, so I'm gonna have to be disguised, you know?
Facts.
Maybe one day I won't like them all, but I'm just, you know, it was something. It was like...
But being in the present moment and just being able to actually like not overthink things. And it's like what you just said, like, I understand where you're coming from, but that's where I had to adopt a different mindset. Is like, yo, I'm just living my truth. I'm in this moment. I'm not thinking about 60 years from now. Like, I want to live in this present moment. I'm not guaranteed 60 years from now. I want to be so present in this moment. And that's why, like, anytime I see you, I try to say something positive, or I try to give good energy, or maybe it's just not even giving energy. It's just listening, or whatever the case is. But it's being present in the moment. Like, how many people, when they look at you, they look down, or they look to the side, or they can't hold eye contact, or they can't shake your...
We always talk about, you know, somebody asks, do you ever experience racism? And I'm like, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. It's like, but do you think if a woman gets into an elevator with me, they're gonna feel comfortable? A woman gets in with 2 kids and I'm in there. But what I can control is the way that my energy comes off. So when that person enters that elevator, they're greeted with a smile, and I talk to them.
Yes.
And again, I'll talk to them the whole time that they're in the elevator, and that creates the change. So it's actually energy. And guess what? At that point, they didn't see anything about me, but they felt me. And I feel like that's it's always a good way, always a way that I've entered a room, always a way that I, you know, talk with clients and I meet with new clients. Sometimes you gotta show up as loud as you think that you need to. You know?
Yeah.
Whether it's that looks, is that whatever the case is, but you're doing it because it's something that you need to do at that moment. You know, you gotta show up loud for yourself.
Right. Yep. And not care what other people think. That's why I like the way I dress. That's why I wear loud colors. That's why my car is the way it is. It's just like, this is my creation.
Yeah.
Your creation may look different than mine, and I'm not judging it. That's why when, you know, we're in a society to where there's, you know, now transgender and, you know, people labeling themselves as he, they, different acronyms, right? And I don't judge you if that's your truth, if that's, and what I judge is when people don't live their truth. Like, if you're going to be a certain way, live it. Be that person, whatever it is. And it's like, stop running from who you are. Just be who you are. You're deserving, you're loved, you're worthy, you're abundance, everything. We just have to start remembering who we are. And with things like this, podcasts like this, we're going to help enlighten many people.
Yeah, I think podcast is the new way to educate the world, because it's going to be in their hand and they're going to see it.
It's funny. I haven't done as many podcasts as I like, because I caught myself just actually living it. And, you know, I had a hard time like slowing down and talking about it. But now it's like I'm at the point where I feel so at peace and I feel so one with myself that I want to enlighten others people how to feel, like to be able to feel the same way that I'm feeling, you know, because I feel like a lot of people are lost. A lot of people are trying to seek something. A lot of people don't have the confidence that it looks like they have, you know, and it's like, it really just comes down to one thing, and it just comes down to being present and being in the moment and accepting everything for what it is. And, you know, I've mastered that because I'm doing the work every single day. So, you know, for anybody that's listening to this, just put in the work, you know, slow down. Just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot done. And detach from everything, you know. Stop surrounding yourself with energy vampires. If somebody shows you who they are, believe them. Stop holding on because it's comfortable. Be uncomfortable. Absolutely. Because eventually you're going to be so comfortable in uncomfort that you're going to like that. Man, like I said, thank you for having me.
I appreciate that.